You are now listening to the V2V podcast with Shorts and Aurelius, episode number 48.
This call is now being recorded.
Well, hey there.
Well, hi there.
Hey now. Hey now.
Hey now. Hey now, probably. Whoops.
So, Katy Perry's in big trouble. She is in trouble for stealing music made for the Lord.
Oh, dear.
A jury yesterday, on Monday, found that the Pop Idol's 2013 hit, Dark Horse, improperly copied a 2009 Christian rap song, because the Lord loves rap.
Yeah.
A jury's going to decide how much she owes, and we're going to find out how much money Katy Perry owes the authors of a song called "Joyful Noise" by an artist by the name of Flame.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and her argument was that, look, the sections in question represent the kind of simple musical elements that are found in any song.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's just generic, which doesn't say a lot about her music, really. I mean, that's not.
Yeah, I mean, like most of her songs. I mean, that's basically a great description of the kind of artist she is. Generic and basic. I like that.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Right, and everyone on her side claims that they never heard the song, and it was just coincidence, and it's just basic stuff that anybody would use musically, but the judge and jury said no, and that's it. And the plaintiffs were all smiles when they left the courtroom.
I just feel like the only reason, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on an anti-Katy Perry rant. The only reason we all know Katy Perry is because she was hot and because she got lucky enough to sing someone else's song called I Kissed a Girl and I Like It. And that's so taboo in this country that when it was put onto Top 40 radio, bullshit, generic fucking Clear Channel, and spun a million times in people's heads, it kind of locked in. That's the only reason you know her. Oh, also, she was married to Russell Brand and took his small wang.
Right. So there's more. There's a little bit more to this, but I think that's all true, what you just said. She's hot, got lucky, kissed a girl, liked it. People liked that she liked it, and they were titillated.
Yeah.
And then she shot whipped cream out of her tits. That was exciting. So I think we figured out what happened. She angered the Lord because she bought recently 8-acre plot of land in California that previously belonged to a convent for nuns, and she swooped in and bought the land and kicked the nuns out.
Yeah, but she's pretty anti-Christian anyway, based on her childhood and sort of like not really being a part of that or believing in it and partaking in it. So
some
makes
say
sense.
she's a Satanist. Some do say that.
Illuminati.
I mean, the naughty bits. She likes the naughty bits.
The Illuminati bits. Naughty bits.
The Illuminati bits.
Yeah.
You know, I still am a fan of her Illuminati bits, but not so much her music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her music.
You know. So yeah, that kicks off our dark episode with Dark Horse dark horse to start it off, and I think it's only going to get darker from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of wanted to talk about Epstein for a bit.
Oh boy.
Because.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
really,
No, I think we should. It's important to talk about that kind of stuff, even though it's uncomfortable.
I'm super glad that they are going through with this prosecution or that they're holding him. That's super awesome and everything. But this to me looks like a fall guy thing. And I'm not
sure. You mentioned that. Yeah, you mentioned it before. And okay, so I understand what you're saying, that he's kind of the fall guy, I guess. But isn't he the orchestrator in a lot of ways, or is there? Or is he just a pawn himself? I mean, that's,
I don't know.
And that's the thing. It will open up. Because if he's the fall guy,
it seems to me this guy was untouchable by state law, and he was able to buy all state law. So it seems to me that someone else is also. I mean, he must have dark secrets about everyone. Or be a part of something that's much, much larger that we can't quite see.
Well, sure, that makes sense. I mean, he was the flashy guy, the guy with, apparently a lot of money, but relatively little institutional power. So he had to have a lot of backup from people with real power. In order to play along, go along, participate. Because him on his own, like, so what? He's some rich guy who likes girls. Like, that's not, there doesn't seem to be enough reason to protect him just on that basis. Like, so what? He's rich, he likes, let's nail him. But for some reason, he's surrounded by this mysterious group of people who have real power and for some reason seem to want to protect him. So I think you may be onto something with him being kind of the fall guy, because if he goes away, then the power players continue to get to behave in that way. And then perhaps find another guy, a rich pedophile, who they can further protect so he can provide them with their, entertainment. I get it.
I don't know though that was like his main purpose. It seems like these other guys would have had their own, ability and their own sort of like, I don't know, but
but they're too well. They're too well connected themselves in a sense. Like, so they need another person,
right? And
unseen, but who's loosely connected with all of these other people, who they can deny after he gets caught. They can say, "Oh, I barely knew the guy," or "I didn't know about it," and all of that stuff. But
it seems like this Wexler guy is a big player in this too. Who was head of who's head of Victoria's Secret or whatever.
Oh, right. That was interesting too, where Epstein kind of took over Victoria's Secret, and no one really knew about it. Like, for years, he was basically in charge of the company, and it looks like he maybe coerced the Wexler guy into giving him stuff, like property and money. So, because I guess the authorities have been kind of looking into where his money came from, and it just came from nowhere in a lot of cases. It just, hey, is that Lula?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, she's pissed. She agrees. She's like, I'm going to fight that guy. So, what I was saying is, like, there's no clear trail of where his assets actually came from. No. Even the giant mansion, the 7-story mansion in New York, which is absurd, doesn't seem to have any kind of sale documentation. It just suddenly it was his.
Yeah.
Right. And you would think a property that big would have a pretty comprehensive paper trail, but nope. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm so interested in what comes out of this, and they subpoenaed the pilots.
Yes, both of the pilots who may or may not know anything
at all.
But chances are, I think that if you were working for somebody for that long, or for however long they did work for him, you would have some idea about what was going on behind you in the plane, or who was on the plane, at the very least, right? You're like, oh, we don't know anything about who was on the plane. We just fly the plane. So yesterday, his good buddy, 80-year-old Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz, said something that that was very strange. He seems to have a very convoluted way of thinking about men could misinterpret the lack of consent. And apparently this was something that he talked about before. He was just fascinated with men who were quote-unquote wrongfully accused of rape. Like, that was a big deal for him, and he wanted to defend these guys. Yeah. Even knowing, in a lot of cases, that his clients were absolutely guilty, like the argument being that everyone deserves a defense. Right. But basically, his take on, like, prostitution, for instance, is that prostitutes know what they're doing. They should be prosecuted, but you shouldn't ruin a John's life over that, because they're not at fault. It's the prostitute that is actually committing the crime, not the guy having sex with her. Like, strange stuff like that. And then he put out a tweet yesterday saying that, and I'm just paraphrasing, saying that if a 16-year-old girl can have an abortion without state or parental consent, then they should be able to have sex without some other person's consent too. They should just be able to make their own decisions regarding sex, and it's fine. The problem with that is they don't have anything to do with each other, and even if you want to say 16 is old enough, the girls in question were quite a bit younger than that, like as young as 12. So I don't know if he thinks that too, but he got a lot of backlash, regarding that point of view, because it's really twisted.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
These people, man. I almost feel like a lot of the time they're trolling, and they don't actually, this is all reaction and like how we react.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like a cause and effect thing, and the attention, good or bad, is controversy, and therefore it's press.
Right. Right. Like the fact that it's a story at all is weird to me. A lot of stories like that relate to, like, the rich and powerful probably shouldn't be news items. Yeah. They should probably just, like, let that stuff go on in the background. And I think we've talked about this with Trump too, the idea that until, like, something actually happens, like a result or something tangible and real, like a judgment, or like, the process should be allowed to kind of go on behind the scenes without a lot of what we're doing, but it's almost unavoidable to not want to comment on the commentary.
Sure.
To point it out and how damaging it can be when you start to create a celebrity out of a monster, because it softens the whole tone of, like, who these people are, because then it becomes entertainment.
Yeah.
And people want to hear more about it.
because we're all just basically watching his television show, The Apprentice. That's basically what we're watching.
With Trump, and then of course with like this whole Epstein thing too.
Yeah.
And all of these people and all of these little scenarios that get inflated into something that although serious and important, it seems that there are many more things that should be discussed and portrayed on something called the news. Like we're off the hook, right? Because we're not the news. Like we get to comment on whatever, but when you come as an official source for people about what's going on in the world and in their communities, is that really the thing like that should be talked about? Like some rich guy who's a pedophile who got arrested, like. Maybe that alone, like, should be it. Like, hey, check this out. Some rich guy, pedophile, got arrested. Oh, he had been arrested before. And I guess we're going to see what happens when it's all over with, instead of, like, ruthlessly following every detail, because then it turns into entertainment.
This isn't rumor-based or alone rumor-based. This is from press digging into things and exposing small things along the way. But that probably needed to happen to get things rolling, because the government seems to not do anything about things. I don't know.
Well, there's a differentiation between, say, like independent media, which I would put us in that category in some way.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're publishing independently on our own.
Yeah.
We're not a corporation. We're not restricted by certain, rules and things like that, other than the rules of YouTube. But when you're dealing with like a news organization, like NBC, for example, or whatever, the amount of options that they have and influence they have about what to report and how to report it, and the bias they put on things, it seems like there are many more topics that are much more relevant to people in their daily lives, other than a rich pedophile who got arrested. Like,
absolutely,
it's interesting. It's fascinating. It says something about our culture, but let the independent people dissect that stuff. Like. Because that's where it comes from anyway. Like, into a large degree, that's where they get their scoops.
Yeah,
from sources, and those sources might have an agenda, and we don't know what that is. Like, we don't have any idea, because there's all this, off the record and stuff, or anonymity, because people don't want to be implicated themselves, and it just makes everything very hard to determine what's true. So, but all that being said, I think it is important that this is happening, regardless of the sensational reporting that's going on. Mm-hmm. So, we're going to talk about it too. And because why not? Like, it's fascinating and dark, and that's what people like. We love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So just we'll see what happens. It would be very strange and scary if he really does turn out to be kind of like a less important figure than the people are making him out to be, which that's the other thing too, if that kind of stuff is going on in order to hide reality, that means that this won't be resolved, apparently the guy's already tried to hurt himself, or maybe not. That's weird, in his jail cell.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think, yeah, I think that people like this probably also have connections with people who, you know, are also doing these strange activities and you know, hang out in these strange circles, doing these strange, you know, horrendous activities. And I think that a lot of people are probably shaking their boots at this point, but I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, I'd like to talk about this, the Montana Residential Treatment Center that got shut down.
Is it just the one?
Yeah. That's recent. Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm just looking it up.
Yeah, because I know that once the state recently took over oversight of these therapeutic boarding schools for teens and wilderness camps, that they miraculously discovered a bunch of stuff that was wrong with them and are now imposing a lot of sanctions, and it looks like at least shutting one down, which is great.
Yeah.
It's about time.
I can't find the freaking link, but
I'm trying to look it up too. Yeah, it's I think it's one of those things that, like, you don't want to, like, invest too much hope in stuff like this. I mean, it's good that people are taking a closer look, but sometimes
I think
sometimes this is a good example. This is a good example of the difference in what maybe to report on. Like, okay, so we have American kids' lives at stake who are locked away secretly. No one knows what's going on. There's no reporting whatsoever about it. Like, no one, like, but it's ongoing, and it's been ongoing for years. So where are the reporters who are interested in that?
Good question. And
where are they?
Like we haven't tried. And that has to do with it being a clickable story. If it's clickable and sexy, then people click on it. No one is reporting on this shit.
Isn't it sexy? You got a bunch of teenagers locked up.
I know. I thought the same, but it's not. It doesn't sell.
It's not.
It doesn't sell the way Epstein fucking teams does, you know, or celebrities.
These are the same kids. Like, okay, these are the same fucking kids that were his victims. You know, maybe not specifically. They're in the same, like, group. Like,
I know.
Emotionally
insecure, troubled, emotionally damaged teen. Yeah.
Right, and coming from you know, so-called good families where someone like Epstein or his people could actually find these girls, like, hanging out. Like, the poor girls aren't hanging out in his circles or on that street where they've been picked up and groomed to you know, give him naked massages. But the people, but the kids who are in these therapeutic boarding schools, who've been shipped off to Montana or elsewhere, or Utah or wherever they go, they come from, like, those social circles.
Yeah.
That people like him travel in. Like, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if the same girls in the past who had been abused, raped, molested by him, after or before, went to places like this.
No,
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's exactly that group of kids. You're right.
So I can't find the article either. I found an old one.
It's in the Missoulian. It's the Missoulian.
Yeah, there's one called Fox Guard the Hen House. Which is an older from January. And
that's kind of what got the whole regulation started. That's the whole regulation story, the box guarding the hen house.
Right.
They were
Spring Creek Lodge. Right.
Right. They were self-regulating, and the idea is now that different state bodies are regulating, and it looks like they are shutting down places for what is child neglect or abuse. So we have one closure.
And then we're supposed to be looking into other facilities. I think Liz wants to do some research on wilderness camps. She just brought up a camp I can't mention because there's some stuff going on that she wants to keep quiet at this point, but she wants me to look into a particular school because she wants to look into doing something to get a kid out.
Gotcha. And we have to be quiet during that time. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, but the ideas are there, and you know, I've heard like, okay, save one kid, that's great, but it's not great. Like that's fantastic that a kid is saved, but it's not.
No,
that's not the goal. The goal is, of course, is to have these places like just permanently shut down, all of them. Like, and if parents want to send their kids somewhere for whatever reason because they're bored of parenting, then people need to determine if that's a good thing at all, and if you should even be allowed to be able to do that. And then if it's decided that, okay, if you can't handle your child and you want to pay money to send them somewhere where they can be taken care of, they actually have to be taken care of. Like, it has to be built from the ground up in a way that has respect for children, actual therapy going on, a plan to reintegrate these kids back into society, because if they're isolated like that, when they finally get out, at least in the situations that exist now, they have no clue about how the world works anymore. So
I'd have to say that you've got about 3 months to get that done before shit.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable amount of time, right?
Because otherwise their social circles move on and culture moves on, and you can't reintegrate back in. That's traumatic.
Right.
When I came back, I couldn't believe what was going on, you know, and all the stuff I had missed, all this stuff, you know, toys and video games, and I couldn't believe what was going on. All these movies that I hadn't seen, didn't know anything about, you know, and it's been 4 years, man.
Right.
You know, that kind of shit really fucking fucks you up.
Yeah,
it's like stepping out of a time capsule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found another article from September of last year about Monarch in Montana, and they were shut down. They were shut down in September of 2017 with 2 days' notice. Yeah. And they have agreed to pay $1 million to families that shut out of the school. They were sued. This place charged $30,000 a semester as their personal piggy bank, and the operators
I promise you, they're fully insured. I promise you.
Sure, and $925,000 is pennies. I don't even know how many parents it involves, but they're not the people who operated this place, and now it's shut down. They don't have a worry in the world. They are probably relieved that they don't have to operate it anymore. They can go do whatever they want to do in Hawaii and London and Las Vegas or wherever they choose to travel.
But unfortunately, that's not the way this works, because you know that you're going to find these people popped up in another state with another fucking program called like a tennis program or something, you know?
Sure, right, or a horse program.
And that's how it starts, and then it switches over. They change the name to something else, and they change the site to something else. Once they get therapeutic people in who were stupid enough from University of Phoenix to buy into this shit. It's
That's
not
right,
like
right.
it's not that hard to see how this all works out. And these people, they play long, man. They play a long game, and they're willing to go state by state. They don't care about their reputation.
Right, or out of the country even. You know,
Yeah.
we're still
Right.
dealing with Sunset Bay Academy and California Leadership Academy, the same company, by the way, in Mexico.
The other one that Litchfield has in Puerto Rico or something at the moment as well. I mean,
Oh, wow.
you're talking about like so many fucking places. There's a ton down there still. There's a ton. There's probably 10 down there on those islands. You know,
Right,
a lot.
and Puerto Rico's tricky because it's still the United States, but it's so out of reach, and they have their own governance there that no one knows. Like, in fact, right now Puerto Rico is in such turmoil that that's the last thing anyone would be looking at.
Right.
Is the way kids from the mainland are being treated in these horrific therapeutic boarding schools in Puerto Rico.
Right.
Yeah, it's an immense task, and it's really frustrating sometimes, you know, when we have these conversations, because it feels like, well, for me, I want 1,000 people to be having these conversations, like all the time about what's happening in their community, and shining a bright light on these places and doing something about it. And sometimes it seems like, at least right now, as far as I can tell, we're one of the few people even talking about it. It's crazy.
I mean, you've basically got a bunch of survivors, and that's all you've got, man. You know? But we're the people talking about it. We're constantly talking about it. We talk daily about it in groups all the time. We post and then we reply, and we talk about it, and we all agree. I mean, last night I got caught up in this feed on Reddit Troubled Teens with this girl who was talking about going, should she go harass the family of the owner of her program who abused her brutally, because she's dead, the owner of the program. Should she go to the funeral and harass them? And, in the conversation, I was like, you know what? Yes, you should. You have every right to. And someone else said, no, you shouldn't. You would just bother the family. But then it turns out that the whole family was fucking involved. The son was fucking transporting for the program, and raped the girl there. It's not like this shit is. And then it turns out that the owner of this program, the actual person who was the director of this program, was the head of Nat staff.
Right.
So
that's exactly what I was about to say. That they, that in every case, the regulatory system that these places operate are written by those it regulates. The rules are written by the operators of the facilities.
Yeah.
And so they have there's a time lag when something is discovered. They can get a jump on the story before it actually makes news. And this guy Patrick McKenna, who was ran Monarch, he said in meeting notes, he cautioned that media exploitation of specific incidents often causes the state to overreact with legislation that is not well thought out and does not fit the needs of the industry. So they're aware that one incident, like, a young lady killing herself, is going to cause some commotion for a minute, but the idea is that they can ride it out and then have people look at the regulatory body which they run and say, oh no, we've got this under control. Sometimes bad things happen, but it doesn't mean that the whole system is corrupt. But we know that the whole system is corrupt, and And it's just almost too big of a story to wrap your hands around for just someone who's on a news beat, who then another thing pops up about Epstein, and oh well, let's get that one because that's let's write about that again because that is the sexy story, and leave and let the the story about the girl who killed herself out of a therapeutic boarding school go dark because who cares? Yeah. People do care though, but they don't know that they care. It's weird.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't know if all the turmoil at the border with kids in cages and people in cages like actually benefits this story.
Yeah.
Because that again it comes as it functions as a distraction in a lot of ways. Yeah, even though it's horribly wrong, right? It's like terrible that it's happening. But like, where's the
fact that these fucking programs are taking these kids and they're fucking taking them. They're betting them.
Right, that too. That's going on too. So now they look good in the public eye in some ways. They're like, oh, look at these places. They're actually taking these poor kids in.
Well, it's so sneaky and fucked up. It's so sneaky and fucked up. And for us survivors to sit here watching it happen.
Yeah, there were meetings where these people who run these places got very excited about the opportunity to shed some of their negative image by probably even scholarshiping these people in. And just so that they're there. We're going to take a couple kids in and get them out of these cages and give them food and shelter, and it's going to be a super great PR move.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And people were probably were rubbing their hands together greedily, just about the idea of how good that's going to look for them, even though they're doing it for all the wrong reasons.
Well, I'm also certain they're getting SEVA, which is a bill that allows international students to come into therapeutic boarding schools and programs. Well, it allows them to come into schools anyway, as well as but it covers for that. I mean, that's something that this next topic, that's something that me and Jack. Let me get his name for you because don't want to.
This is the 19-year-old kid who wants to do a documentary.
Yeah, Jack Hodgson.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's Jack Hodgson.
Jack Hodgson. Hodgley.
Hodgson.
Jack Hodgson. Hodgson.
Anyway,
well, he'll correct us later after we embarrassingly get his name wrong. He'll come on the show and say, "Listen, it's Hodgson."
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he'll say. He'll say, "Listen,
he'll correct us.
It's Hodgson.
Get my name right, buddy."
Yeah, get it right, buddy.
Is he British? Wait, is he British?
Yeah. So
sweet.
So
yes.
He has interviewed this guy from something called Safe Youth UK, who takes part in sending kids from the UK to American programs.
Okay.
And that's kind of how this all started for him, and then he met some survivors and wants to make a documentary out of it. He has a Kickstarter page, which I'll pass to you.
All right, we'll put it in the description.
Yeah. And that's definitely through this thing called SEVA, the same thing these immigrant children are coming through. It's definitely done that way.
Who's funding that? Do we know?
It's a federal bill.
Okay. Wow. Oh boy. So that's terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, man. So when these people were in meetings rubbing their fucking little greedy hands together, they were looking at federal money, and they were looking at probably, possibly 11 times the amount they're getting from even just rich families' kids, you know.
Oh, sure, because there's a lot more work to be done when you're dealing with immigrants.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a big markup for that.
Yeah. Because
Sure
we need to hire someone who speaks Mexican, God damn it.
We need to hire someone with a British accent.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're not going to understand this kid with his Lou and his lift and whatever he's saying. We don't know what that means.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. So, God damn.
You go. Yeah, it's pretty big and bad, man. This whole thing.
So I suspected that might be the case. I just didn't want to say it. Like that these places are probably getting government money to host these people.
It's actually more valuable to them. I mean, I saw this all the time with CPS kids in programs.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know, they're worth more money. They're worth way more money. And
in so many ways, and they're also worth, like I said, PR. You're like, look at us. Look at us. We're taking these, like, immigrants in.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Dark. You're right. This is a dark show.
Very dark show.
It's very dark. But we're shedding some light on it, so that's cool.
Yeah. Even if we're the only ones talking about it.
We're the only ones!
Right?
Fuck.
Well,
hey, everybody, other people do this too. Oh, well, Joe Hodgson, he's doing it too. So.
There is also that channel, Suburbia's Dirty Little Secrets, that was started by a WASP survivor, but I'm not going to comment. Never mind. Because I have an opinion, and it's not for here right now.
Are they, okay, all right, we won't comment on that. That's for them to do, I suppose. They can comment on their own stuff. You're right.
And they need to do it anyway. It's good for them. Whatever. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Even if like survivor networks and groups are flawed and they're infighting and there are problems and stuff is going wrong and they don't like you and they don't like that other group, that's okay with me. Like, it doesn't help, but it's okay in the sense that I understand why there would be suspicion. I understand why there'd be paranoia and a reluctance out of fear to let other people be involved, because there have been cases that we are very aware of where the enemy, ex-staff, current staff, directors of these programs have infiltrated groups and have caused chaos and have tried to turn people back around to seeing to the idea that no, it's really okay. So yeah, I get it. So my hat is off to all these groups who are trying to do something, even if it gets tricky and messy. That's cool. I don't want to I too don't want to comment on some of the problems that these groups face with themselves, but keep going for it. That's cool. Get over these problems that you have and keep moving forward. I wish that, we could wave a magic wand and have everyone get along, but that isn't always the case. And a lot of it is because of practices that were employed while they were locked up.
Well, I think it's actually, and I've come to a realization about this. I think it's about choice. And I think that when we were in program together, none of us wanted to be there. None of us. All we talked about was going home. If we talked. If we were allowed to. All we were talking about was home. And somewhere else other than this. None of us wanted to be there. We had no choice. We're all forced together into this. And here we are again. All of us don't really want to be in this group. We don't really want to be the only people talking about this. It really shouldn't be our fucking responsibility to figure out all these little networks and
the group shouldn't even exist. We should never have a podcast about the troubled teen industry. It shouldn't be a thing.
Exactly. None of this should be. And we're all really frustrated, and we're all in there, and we all have to still be together again. None of us want to be together. None of us want to be sick people who are broken.
Right.
None of us want things. It's very aggravating.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so, of course, it's going to be...
That's my theory on the infighting. And that's why it won't change.
That makes a lot of sense.
Why, thank you.
It does. Like, so the only way out is forward. So the only way out of being able to kind of disband these groups and shows and the whole idea of keeping talking about this stuff is if it goes away. And the only way it goes away is if we keep talking about it.
Right.
So it's a catch-22 in a way.
Right. And there's a magnet to that as well, and that creates kind of a hyped up, hyper euphoric situation as well, I think. I think that in itself is a mental thing. You know, I have to see every day I look at the groups. I do.
Yeah.
I just do.
Right.
And I have to see what's going on. And I want to know what the post is. And I want to know what someone's discovered. And I want to keep track on everything, just like everyone else does. We're all in it. We're still all there. In many ways, we're still all there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's true. It's true. Some people are more equipped to handle it. Like some people have never even, what am I trying to say? Some people are more still there than others even.
Yeah.
And, or they have, pre-existing mental health conditions that are exaggerated and exacerbated by the whole idea that these places still exist. And it's an ongoing form of torture.
It
like
is.
this passive torture that these places still exist, but it becomes very real to those who know about it and are compelled to say something about it to other survivors and continue to share and well up these horrible experiences that they've had in order to gain some therapeutic effect regarding sharing about it. But there are others who will hear about their experiences, and it causes all kinds of emotional turmoil over again. So it's very tricky. And so I guess the idea is to, like I said, to be as compassionate and understanding about what everyone is going through and to do our best to de-escalate when we can the fighting stuff. And, you know, it's not always possible, but at least understand that this is why it's happening. You know, and and that in itself is valuable, and it alleviates some of the pain slightly. Like it's not a magic pill, but if you can tell somebody that you understand why they're upset, maybe that's all they want to hear, and that's good enough. You know, like I get it. Like okay, and this person over here that you're angry at, they went through something similar, and they're still having to go through this process too. So I understand why you're upset, and let's try not to be as upset with each other and focus more on how this happened, which is the places themselves.
I think really, really honestly what needs to happen is a few things. But one is we need individual survivors from individual programs to get into their groups with press who are interested, who will write up about these places properly and do proper, shaming of all the people involved and all the government who haven't looked at the place, from the governor to the mayor to whatever. There needs to be movement the way it happened in Montana, and it has to go state by state, because clearly federal law is not going to regulate this. They're still involved. They're still getting funding for it. They're still giving money for it. So that's not going to happen. We're not going to get a federal bill. We need to go state by state. I think this Montana process is the way to do it. And I think that the way the Missoulans done it is really interesting. Because they
kept up on it for a long time.
They did a series until this ended up in government. And it ended up with survivors in government talking to these people about what the fuck is actually going on inside of these places.
Right.
Not what they're selling. You know,
right. So I've encountered this idea of not being allowed to be in a particular group and being like kicked out, even though I was talking about survivor advocacy, and you know, I've had my own experiences, and it wasn't good enough, and so I was removed. But that's self-defeating, because I just happen to be one of the people who's giving a voice to those who've been hurt.
Yeah, but however, that isn't the place to do it. The place to do that, to offer that, and to be that. Like, I realize that you probably shouldn't have been in there, because that's a survivor group specifically for WAP, which is,
right.
You know, I'm allowed in there because I can relate to them, because I was a NatSat. But,
right.
but that doesn't even, that's, you know, barely close to what they went through. I can't relate to them all the way. I didn't have to do seminars, you know,
right.
Not the way they did them. We had
so
to do long days.
My point is that even though I have a cult background as a teen, right? I was involved in Scientology and was put under that kind of torture and pressure. It's different, but I can certainly relate to certain things. So I'm closer. So if I'm not welcome, which is fine, like they don't have to include me in anything. But the idea that you were stating is that these survivor groups should do their best to get their message out to people who can spread the word, like press. They're not going to be allowed in there at all. Like, they're going to be looked at very suspiciously, even more so than me, because they don't, and rightfully so, they aren't going to trust this person to do anything, or they are going to think that they're going to put a positive spin on it.
That's vetted quite well. When we've had journalists in the WASP group before, people have asked for who they are, to prove who they are. And I mean, even on Reddit Troubled Teens, they proved who they are.
Yeah.
You know, they show who they are. And so then they give an email, and private emails should go on between a journalist and survivors. You know?
So where's the stories, though?
There are stories. They're just not big enough to go national and have continuous, like, they need a series. That's the way the museum did it. That's how it was done.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to get...
Months and months.
Sorry. Go ahead.
It needs a full series, and it needs months and months of attention. Go ahead.
No, it'd be interesting to get the reporter or reporters on to talk from that paper to talk about
I really like that. Yeah, I
don't see why that couldn't be possible. Because it would only provide them with a broader platform.
Sure.
Because no one's looking at that except instinct. Like nobody. Yeah. Like we are, because we're looking for things specifically and have to search for it. But no one's reading the Missoulian.
No, it's true. It's true.
So that seems like an interesting idea because
however, that did go national. That last one went national, I think.
It did. About the shutdown.
Yeah, I think so. But I know.
It popped up somewhere. And I didn't look for it. It just popped up.
I just remember it being like in the New York Post or New York Times or something. Can't remember. Something.
Yeah. Well, I'll see if I can look it up and put that link in. And I'll also put a link to the Missoulian stuff too, just so people can get an idea about how this reporting is most effectively done.
Yeah.
So that maybe other people can take an example. And, I mean, obviously they're getting some traction. My guess would be some of these writers are going to win awards for their reporting because of it too, which is also an incentive. as
Exactly.
callous as that sounds. Like, if you do good reporting and you get things done because of the reporting, you probably should get some accolades for it.
Right. But that to me tells me that these people will be writing at a bigger stage at some point, on a bigger stage with a bigger megaphone, and they'll be able to write about these things possibly too.
Yeah. Well, if they care enough to keep going, if they care enough to keep going for a year, it looks like at least writing story after story.
Well, one of the journalists is a survivor from Monarch.
Oh, I see. Well, there you go. Well, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Good for that person. That's fantastic.
I know. That person has done it. That person has broken the whole wall down there.
Gosh, that must feel so good. Oh my God.
He must be on fire right now. I know.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's very cool. I think that's a good place to end this.
Yeah.
This
good
dark path down the road of troubled teens,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
right. Okay, well, all that stuff that we normally say, subscribe, like, ring the bell to receive notifications, blah, blah, blah. Are we good enough to like? I think so. I guess it's up to you to decide.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. All right, till next time.
Bye.
Bye.